Hello everyone. Today I want to show you this concept for this incredibly fast portal-based general hostile mob farm. This farm is incredibly small for how many items it actually makes. It makes about 58 to 60,000 items an hour and basically works by alternatingly flushing mobs into a portal. This pretty much means it flushes about a mob cap worth of mobs, so about 70 mobs into the portal on each cycle. The only downside of this farm being that it consumes flint and steel or fire charges as fuel, as it needs those to relight the portals again. Also, this farm has to be built inside of a perimeter, so pretty much perfect spawning conditions, as it has to be built at y negative 59, so the spawning platform is at y negative 59. This is quite literally directly above the bedrock layer, so in a normal Minecraft world there would be already like bedrock below the leaves here. This is to keep the farm pretty much as low as possible in the world to increase the spawning rates on the individual platforms, and to make sure that the very small amount of spawning spaces that the designer of this farm has are actually going to be able to completely fill up with mobs every single time a spawning cycle comes around, although it's incredibly short. That also means there can't be absolutely anything above the farm, so there has to be nothing but air above the farm, which means a perimeter would be pretty much the ideal place to actually build this farm if you have one. Even the AFK spot is over here to the side. We have to stand about 30 blocks away from the farm so that the mobs can still spawn on the far edge of the platform here. In the Nether, the mobs get sent to a single portal at the top, where they then just fall down and die, where the items then get collected by this conveyor. That then brings them to these double speed 18,000 items an hour item filters that can pick out of them up and then puts them into chests. I would recommend putting a double speed shulker box filler here. I'm going to turn the conveyor off now as it is incredibly loud. But yeah, every single time you activate the farm you have to go into the Nether first and activate this clock here. To activate the piston feed tape to get the items around. The lava here on the side is to kill all of the bats that will also spawn in the farm and get flushed into the portals, or just fly into the portals, as they will otherwise just completely break your game after a couple of hours, because they will accumulate to a point where they will just lag the game to a point where you wouldn't be able to play it anymore. At the top here there also has to be some powdered snow, so that the spiders don't just infinitely hug the sides of the wall until they despawn, to kill them off, and to make sure you can still collect the string at the bottom. As I've already said, the farm makes about 58,000 items an hour, which means it makes about 12,800 items of arrows, rotten flesh, gunpowder, and bones. That's about 7.5 shulker boxes full, which means this temporary storage here would literally completely fill up with items before a single hour has even passed. On top of that, the farm also makes about 500 witch drops and other miscellaneous items such as glowing sacks and ender pearls. I've now set up filters for these here, but this is so little items you could technically speaking just have a double chest here with 2 hoppers leading into it as overflow, and that would be entirely sufficient to collect all of those as well. This entire tower here is at the moment obviously built on the Nether roof, mainly because of simplicity. You otherwise had to build this by carving out a large section of Nether and would also have to worry about ghast spawning or other things. So it's honestly just more convenient to build this on the Nether roof, and it still works. But there's nothing stopping you from building it any lower than this as well. Back to the overworld. Couple of final remarks. If you build this incredibly low down, you're probably not going to need this ring of leaves here, as there's already going to be blocks there, mainly bedrock and the floor of the perimeter, that you're obviously going to have to spawn proof somehow. I'm going to turn this off because it is very loud. But there does have to be blocks here if this happens to be in a void perimeter, for example, because this is going to increase the amount of pack spawning that occurs inside the farm. Then the walls here are made out of glass, A, because it's aesthetically pleasing, and B, because the bottom block here has to be some kind of transparent block as to not impede the spawning inside the farm itself. Same thing goes for the divider wall between the two spawning platforms. Here you need some kind of block that is transparent at the feet level, but doesn't let light through. So tinted glass is absolutely perfect for this, and also I think it looks really cool. Both sides of the farm here have to be light isolated, otherwise the light from this portal will bleed over into the spawning platform and will prevent some of the mobs from spawning here. At the top, on top of the farm, as you can see, there's pretty much bottom slabs on every full block, because the top of the farm has to be entirely spawn-proofed. The entire roof is also made out of bottom slabs, and this doesn't have to be tinted glass here. You can put any completely full solid block there. The redstone is extremely simple. It's just an E4 hopper clock with 6 items in it. It is 6 items? Yeah, actually 12 items in it. To cycle both sides and alternate them from one another. And at the end here there's just a bit of redstone to break and relight the portals again, and to activate these trappers here to flush the water in, to flush the mobs into the portals. Every once in a while the farm is obviously going to spawn some mobs like these chicken jockeys here, or a second ago I also saw a spider jockey that are not going to be able to go through the portal because passengers riding another entity aren't capable of entering portals. They can't get teleported. However, this makes up for a very small subsection of actual mobs, and since you're far enough away from the farm on the AFK spot that they are eventually going to despawn and free up the mob cap again in that spot, they, in my testing, have not caused any real issues with claw gaps or other problems. Besides that, yes, the biggest drawback of this farm definitely is the fact that it does have to be built in a perimeter to work properly. I've tried building this at ocean level, but spawning wasn't fast enough to fill up these fairly limited spawning spaces quick enough for the flushing, for the cycles to still yield enough mobs for it to make any sense to build something like this. At that point you're much better off just building a regular diamond shaped flushing mob farm. But this farm definitely is a very simple setup you can build for an incredibly fast mob farm you want to build in a perimeter, as 60,000 items an hour is basically enough to do absolutely anything a single Minecraft player would probably ever need in amounts of gunpowder per hour. And there's a way to pretty much turn this into a creeper-only farm as well, where you just place trapdoors on the bottom of all of these blocks, where the spawns will then be limited to creepers and spiders only. I've tested that as well. If you build this as a creeper-only farm, it makes about 20,000 gunpowder an hour. And I think, if I remember correctly, about 11,500 string. However, honestly, I would recommend building this as a general hostile mob farm, like in this case here, to also get some bones for bone meal. And the arrows are complete junk, and the rotten flesh is also complete junk. But still, you can, technically speaking, turn this into a creeper-only farm. But, well, I wouldn't recommend doing it. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can leave a vault download down in the description if you want to check this out. And besides that, peace out and have a nice rest of your day.